Welcome to the second episode of Carp Angle. Before we start the show, we'd just like to say a huge thank you to everyone for your amazing support over the last 2 weeks. We've had endless amounts of feedback. We've had a huge amount of people sharing it, which is fantastic. And we've had a fair few contributions too. Mike and I have been absolutely overwhelmed by the response from you all. Obviously, we had no idea how it was going to go with the old contribution, pay-as-you-feel type scenario, but we've had over 100 contributions so far, so we thank you all for your continued support. We've also had lots of people asking where they can actually find the link to donate. If you look on the description below the video, it's at the top of that, but also in the actual channel screen, there's a PayPal logo on the right-hand side. If you click on that, it'll take you straight to that page. With regard to the contributions, for those who missed the last show, anyone who puts in £5 or more, we're going to do a draw and you're going to get the chance to come out fishing with us. We'll also be filming the feature, so this is your chance for your 5 minutes of fame on Carp Angle. We're going to do that draw in 2 weeks' time, live on Instagram. They're going to be picked from a random generator live, so you're going to see that it's 100% fair. You've got 2 more weeks to get your names in for that. I think I've waffled on enough, haven't I? Let's get on with the show. Well, as you can see from the gates behind me today, we are at the famous Horton complex, an absolute carp mecca. Some stunning lakes on the site and some huge, huge carp. We're here today to catch up with Oli Davies. There's no man that knows this complex any better than him, and he's got his own unique style of fishing, so we're here to have a little look at that and hopefully catch a carp or two too. Ollie's already here, so let's go and catch up with him, see if he's got a plan for the day. Well, Ollie, good to see you, mate.
And you, Joe?
Back on the famous Horton complex.
Yeah, welcome back, mate.
Spiritual carp fishing home.
Yeah, mate, it's been my home for quite a long time now. Yeah, love it down here.
How many years you been dabbling?
Oh, God, 20 odd years now.
Wow.
Yeah. But a lot's changed since I first arrived, so yeah. It's a fresh place, there's a lot of fresh fish to fish for. Hopefully we'll catch a few while we're here.
Well, I don't think there's anyone who knows the complex as well as you, so if there's anyone who can do it, you're the man that can.
We'll try, Joe, we'll try. Yeah, I think we'll head over the crayfish pool first and have a look. I think that's going to be our best chance of our first bite. You know, we'll worry about bite number 2 when we've got one in the bag, eh?
Cool, all right.
All right, let's go find them, man.
Let's do it. Well, crayfish pool, absolutely lovely little place. First time I've actually set eyes on it.
Nice, isn't it, Joe? Yeah.
Tell us a bit about it then, huh?
Okay, well, this is the smallest lake on the complex, perhaps the most historic, really. It's got a swim named after Hutchie. Yeah, it's a lovely little lake, probably the quietest one on the complex as well, which is why I like it. There's a stock of around 90 carp in about 2.5 acres, so it's reasonably well stocked, and amongst those there's some really, really nice ones. All the stockfish have been hand-picked. It's really one to watch for the future.
I can see why you like it, because there's loads of overhangs.
Yeah, but actually, like what I'm looking for now, I'm scanning the lake as I'm looking, because it's surrounded by trees, it doesn't get the wind like the other lakes. There's no nuisance species in it. If there's bubbling, it's carp, and we can see it, you know, and look, there's not a breath of wind on the lake today, so I think we've got a good chance of finding something somewhere feeding. And
that goes in hand with the time of year, doesn't it? You know, it's that time of year when they're out foraging and bubbling up on bloodworm beds, and then you're not going to find them so much in the edge.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's frustrating actually. The first time we filmed together, we were sort of doing a margin piece, and it was a little bit late in the year then as well. I mean, there's half a chance of finding one in the edge somewhere, but today, really and truly, it's all about the bubblers, I think. There is a couple of overhangs to check though. We will go and have a little look.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, let's go and have a look. Well, we're already looking at our third lake of the day. We're actually fishing this one.
ADHD carping.
ADHD carping, yeah. Okay, so the cray was pretty quiet, Joe. Like, I was quite surprised not to see any bubbling over there at all. And I'm not interested in fishing for fish that I can't see. So we came and had a quick look on the mead. And it was you that actually spotted the first one, wasn't it? There's a couple of fish sat underneath this sort of mesh netting that we've got protecting them from being cast out from the bridge.
Big uns as well.
They weren't bad ones, were they? Now, I've got to say, I have caught a few out of this swim in the last few weeks by fishing this way, but they've all been small ones. There's only been small fish here, so it's actually really nice to see a couple of better ones. Makes me actually really want to fish it. You know?
Definitely.
I sort of come here for a bite, but now that we've seen better fish here, it's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's,
Exactly.
You know, it's finding those little opportunities and just trying to create a bite.
Yeah, well, and that's what I've done. I've pulled a couple of rods out, as little disturbance as possible. One of them in a place where it's impossible to cast, and it's done me quite a few bites.
I've got to say, I was impressed.
You like that, curling it around the corner?
Very stealthy,
Yeah.
and like you say, you're not going to get any less disturbance than that.
No. When you're not here for long, that's important. So fingers crossed we'll get a quick bite. I'm not going to stay here all night. You know, we'll give it a couple of hours and see how we go.
Plenty of big uns in here.
Oh, loads of big uns, mate. Loads, but this is where the big uns live. Like, yeah. Ha, you love it. Well, that was a really quick bite. I'd literally, well, the kettle's just on. And luckily he's come out. And it's only a small one, lads, but it's what we're here for, a carp. Just got to hope that he comes out of these reeds of his own accord.
Yes, Ollie. No messing.
Well, ain't got time to wait, have we, mate? Oh, he's gone right around this corner though into these reeds.
I suppose that's the only thing with the shorter rods. Haven't quite got the same leverage.
You know what? I nearly got the 9-footers out of the car, mate, but look, he's out now.
Skills.
Sweet. Well, that was a good bite, wasn't it? You can see why I put those backrests in now. I don't normally use them, but I've got a small ghosty.
It's just not worth the risk, is it? You know, for the sake of the time it takes to put your backrest in.
Yeah, mate. Come on. Not a big one, but I don't want him to fall off.
No way. It's a carp, that's what we're here
That's
for.
right, mate.
Them ornamentalists are always a bit harder, aren't they, fighting?
They're little buggers, these ghosties. Yeah, sort of 3 years ago we put, well, 3 years and 2 years ago we put over 200 carp in here, small ones, which are all homegrown. They were all born on the complex, and this is one of them. Any go.
Yeehaw!
That'll do, lads.
Yes,
Off
Ollie.
the mark.
Skills, man.
Well, we come to catch carp, Joe. ADHD carping. We're not messing about, are we? How long did that take? 10 minutes of fishing? Don't know if anyone else has caught one today, but...
Kettle weren't even boiled.
Kettle weren't even boiled, actually. Coffee time, eh? Okay. Well, he's a lovely little one, but he is only a little one, and it would be nice to catch a better one, wouldn't it? So
Is an absolute result.
it happened really quick, didn't it, Joe? Which is what I'm all about, really. I'm not really interested in waiting. I do like a big carp, but I'll take a bite over waiting for a big one, eh? Come on in.
Right,
Let's get another one. Well, Joe, I told you that I've had some quick bites where I haven't even closed the bail arm using that pole, and you've just seen it for yourself there, mate. How long that been in the water?
Well, literally 30 seconds maximum, I think.
Mental. You know, most people would see a small common here, but this is a homegrown carp. This was born on a complex, born in a boat pool in 2015, and yeah, restocked 3 years ago. They're beautiful, aren't they?
Absolutely stunning, mate.
Yeah.
Lovely little glittery marks on the back there.
Yeah, real unique. So yeah, most people might see a £12 common, but to me this is the future, Joe, you know? These are the ones that people are going to be fishing for in 10 years, 15 years. And it's growing really well, you know? That was £3 when we stocked it. And he's what, 13 now? If he was a barbel, I reckon he'd be a 13 pounder.
He done all right, old Dell, didn't he?
He done really well, mate. This is his legacy. This is what he left us, you know?
Right then, Al. It's been at least, what, half hour?
Half an hour, mate. Yeah, we had a cup of coffee and no bites. And, you know, we've had such quick bites that, yeah, I felt something was wrong. Reeled it in and there was a stick on it at the end. Typical, isn't it? Typical. Anyway, it stopped raining, so it's time to get it back out. I think there's a chance of another one still. One's just shown, isn't it, against the fence, so. But
that kind of reactive thing, you know, is so important, isn't it? Because, I mean, I probably would have sat there for another half hour, you know, give it a bit longer, but, you know.
Mate, you've seen how quick the bites come. Like, one of them, the rod was still in my hand, so it doesn't matter about re-dropping the rod. Like, if you was casting it and spoking them, yeah, you'd think twice about it. You have to change your tactics, but this allows you to fish in a totally different way.
And it goes back to that thing, doesn't it? You know, if you are a little bit worried, you feel something's wrong.
Recast it, yeah. I mean, because, well, you know, we've all had it, haven't we? When you think you should have got a bite and something was wrong, just like now. So.
Good angling, mate. Right, here comes the next plane.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm preloading a big bend into the pole so I can curl it around the corner and get it right up tight under those trees.
I bet there's a bit of an art in that, isn't there?
It took me a little while to work it out, Joe, but once you get it rocking, it's perfect. Just got to get the head point in the right direction. It looks bizarre, doesn't it? But
it looks like it's going to break, doesn't it?
Yeah, we can shove it right under the canopy there. You can just see the head. Just drop that. Boom. You know, how long is that taking to put that rod out? 3 minutes. It's no hardship. And it could be the difference, you know, hopefully. We'll manage to nick one more before it gets dark. Be well happy with that, Joe. 3 bites in a couple of hours. Anyway, we've reset that rod. Give it another half an hour. If we haven't got one, well, getting itchy feet already, really, Joe. How long have we been in this swim? A couple of hours. ADHD carping. At its best. Done. It's on the end.
Well, he's literally just repositioned that rod.
I wasn't happy with it, Joe. I wasn't happy, well, you know I wasn't happy with it. That's a better fish, that one. I can see it. That's a better one, mate.
Right, where's your net? So yeah, after reeling it in with a stick on.
Well, I dropped it again, Joe, and I still wasn't happy with it. Oh.
Just shows you, doesn't it? I mean, what is it, a couple of foot different?
Yeah, but you know, the good thing is actually, you know, every time I've dropped the rig out there, I've dropped a bit of bait out there, and they've obviously been, had a little time. We fed off the little, that's a much better fish, Joe. That's a much better fish.
Yeah.
Well, we did see a couple of better ones down there, didn't we?
Big, pale, chunky monkeys. For sure, yeah. And to have two, well, 3 bites, obviously lost one, but I thought it was only a matter of time before you hooked a better one.
Well, I've had a lot of small ones from this part of the lake. You know, it's, in the area, it's a good, in the spring, it's a good area for big ones, but...
Ooh, he's having it now.
See, now I'm glad that other rod's gone. Well, it's not a super giant, but it is much bigger than the other ones that we caught, mate. Much bigger.
Lovely carp.
It's a chunk, mate, yeah. Do you know what? I don't think it's one of the ones that we saw sat there either. It looks too dark on its back. Come on, in you go. Yes, boys. That'll do. What have we got in there? Big fat 30-pounder by the looks of things, boys. Well, not bad for an afternoon's work, eh, Joe?
I am super impressed, mate. Obviously, we came here with an idea to feature your ADHD carping styles, and you've proved it to us how effective it is in such a short amount of time.
Well, we could go home now, couldn't we, mate?
Well, we could, but you know what? I did set you a little challenge, and the challenge was to catch from more than one lake on the complex. So,
well, I think we've completed Kingsmead, haven't we?
I think you've done it in style.
Yeah. Let's have a little look at the other side. It's actually quite empty, this one. Look at this little detail. Yeah, I know it's a fisher pond one, but look at this.
That's massive for a middle peck as well.
Look at the colouring on it as well. It's like koi tips. And on the other side, see like the white tips to it.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
They've all got their own character, mate. You know, not everybody's cup of tea, but he's a characterful carp. Look at the size of those pecks as well, like my hand.
So what's the plan of attack now then, huh?
Well, I think we'll have a little reset, go and have a bit of dinner, because it's chucking it down with rain. And I think we'll go and do the night on the cray. Hey, you up for that, Joe?
Not on the cray.
Night on the cray, see if we can bag one in the morning. And then, well, who knows? The world's our oyster. Oh, he's an angry one, isn't he? Look how big that looks in the water. Imagine how big a 50-pounder looks. Well, Joe, it's gone midnight. We've ridden the rain out in the lodge, haven't we? Had a nice evening, drinking coffee and talking carp. And we're now over the crayfish pool on a late night mission. That's how we like it. Yeah, I'm no stranger to setting up in the dark. It certainly holds no fear for me. On the crayfish pool, actually, the crays are really active in the evening, so it doesn't really do yourself any favours to cast out too early, because it means they've got more time in the dark to attack your bait. So by the time we're fishing about 2 o'clock in the morning, we've got a much better chance of having a little bit of free bait left. As it starts to get light and the fish get a bit more active, mind you, they're jumping like mad out there at the moment, aren't they? So
Definitely such an edge to be up and awake and around the pond at this time of night.
well, we did have a little lap of the boat pool, half a lap, didn't we? To put a little bit of bait in. And there was no one else up, was there? Everybody was fast asleep. Missing the action. We did see one show in the boat pool, didn't we? So we got half an idea whereabouts they are. Yeah, I'm just putting my crayfish proof baits on. They're not actually totally crayfish proof because they'll eat everything. In fact, I need to swap. I've got a bit of putty on from earlier on to balance the rig, but I'm going to put a split shot on there because crayfish love to eat putty. Don't know why. I don't think there's any food value in it. Yeah, there's a few adjustments you have to make to your tackle when you're fishing waters with crayfish in. Oh yeah, there's nothing that's crayfish proof, but you can give yourself a bit of a better chance. And again, you know, keep going on about the pole, but it enables you to rebait pretty regularly without disturbing your swim or disturbing the fish. You know, if you think you've been crayed, if you think you've got nothing left, reel it in, pole it out again. So yeah, rig really simple, multi-rig. My rig hasn't changed for a while, you know, you get something that works and you stick with it, don't you, Joe? Don't mess about too much. Hell, that sounded like a fridge being thrown in, didn't it? That was a big one. There's someone fishing over on the point anyway, so we can't go and sort of turn up behind them. At this time in the morning, it's not very good etiquette, is it? So we'll stick to this side of the lake. Cool, you can see the ripples coming in there, Joe. That was a big fish, that was. It sounded like it was a long way out, but those ones earlier on, I mean, look, that, I don't think it was over the other side of the lake, judging by the ripples there. 50 yards out, it's probably, you know, it's within poling distance. So I shall send a rig out in that direction, I think. The reason I love the multi-rigs, it's so easy to swap your hook over, recycling all the components, even the little hook bead, slip that off one and back onto my new hook. Push that onto the hook link. You know, I should be selling you maximum amount of hook links, shouldn't I? It's not very good marketing. But you know, it's true. Don't necessarily need to change the material each and every time. Just give it a check that the braid's all intact. That's it, new hook on. Just put another foam bait on that and it's ready to go. It's a magic bait. Sometimes I do flavour this. I'll stick it in a bit of sweetener. But I'd be more worried if I was fishing it as a single. Again, I'm just adding a bit of extra foam with the ball just to really properly cock the hook. It does sort of sit semi-cocked with just the ball and the metal bait screw, but I really want it to sit upright, you know, and that's still a relatively small hook bait, isn't it? When you're fishing over small bits, it's perfect. Nothing special, super simple. A lot of people wouldn't even use that bead. I just like it, it works for me. Baiting approach, exactly the same as earlier. I'm actually really not fussed what I put in. I've actually would really prefer to have some flake boilie, but embarrassingly I've run out, so I'm having to crush them up myself. First world problems though. I didn't put a lot of bait in earlier because I was anticipating quick bites. I think I'm going to be I'll be filling the spoon up a little bit more. Another reason as well, you know, where we were fishing earlier on, it's quite shallow water. Even quite a small handful of bait, it's not spreading too far from the spoon, but in 17 feet of water, which we're going to be dropping it in now, you get a much bigger spread, Joe, don't you? You know, as that bait falls through the water, it spreads right out. So a small handful is spread really thinly, and the crays in here are relentless, you know. So I like a lot of small items, just to try and keep them busy. A lot of the guys do well here as well, just fishing over a couple of kilos of boilies, you know, straight over the top of the rigs. I'm gonna be quite generous with the pellet. And a handful of corn. Enough for a bite, you know. I don't anticipate it's what's the time now? 1 o'clock in the morning. Don't anticipate the rig being out there for more than 6 or 7 hours, so you know. Fingers crossed that'll be enough to keep them crays occupied. There will be at least, oh, do you know what, the more I talk about it, the more I want to put another handful in. Again, I've been really ill prepared for this session. I would have normally done a big bucket of particle. Just place the rig in. Do you know what, I used to place the rig underneath it, and I had 2 occasions in the same week where when the lead falls out, it drags the rig out quicker than the freebies. And on one occasion I'd had a tear hooked on the hook point, and another occasion a bit of flake boilie. I hadn't had a bite. And it's a little bit like earlier, Joe, you know, when you haven't had a bite, you know something's wrong. Well, yeah, so I always place it on top of the bait now rather than underneath. Little things, you know, you learn the hard way sometimes, don't you? Nights like tonight, it's perfect for the pole. There's not a breath of wind. Just trap that and feel it down the last bit. I let it fall straight through the water because I don't want to pull it away from the freebies. I want it right in the middle of that patch. So, you know, the big advantage of the pole is being able to have, you know, Joe, if you could put one spom of bait out and be sure that it would land right over your rig, you'd only put one spom out, wouldn't you? I mean, half the time we put 10 spoms out just to be sure that one landed over the top of the rig. But with the pole, you can be sure that it landed over the top of the rig. So, sort of trap it towards the end of the trajectory, and that's as much as anything to straighten the leader out. I'm not too worried about how the bait falls. That multi-rig is so anti-tangle with an inline lead. I don't worry about it at all. A few people have asked me, oh, do you feel the rig down, or you just let it drop in amongst the bait? And yeah, to be honest, I'm quite happy just to let it drop in amongst it. I think we overthink it sometimes, Joe. You can really easily make yourself paranoid about these things. I know this sounds a little bit noisy on the bank, but believe me, it's nowhere near as intrusive as a lead hitting the water out there. That's it, sorted. Took about 15 minutes to get both rods out, but we've got really good traps set there for the night. Should we get some sleep?
Sounds like a good idea.
Cool.
It's a strange affection. It's too much to ask for. It's too much to ask for. There is a strange affection. It's too much to ask for. It's too much to ask for. Breathe in me. There is a strange affection. It's too much to ask for. It's too much to ask for. Breathe in me.
Well, quiet old morning. Quiet morning, mate. We're 2 coffees deep. I'm still shaking the sleep out of my head, but yeah, it's not my favourite time of day, to be honest. First thing in the morning, I'm more of a night owl.
It was quite a late night.
It was a late night for all of us. It was about 3 o'clock, I think, when we went to bed, wasn't it? So yeah, I think we deserved a bit of a lie-in, didn't we? But there's not a lot going on. Like I said to you, the crayfish pool is normally quite quiet in the morning. The activity seems to build as the day goes on. But having said that, you saw a couple this morning, haven't you? And we've been watching them jump in the far corner. So it gives us something to go on.
Like you said, it's kind of a little bit of a gamble, isn't it, this time in the morning? It's either you move and try and find some, or you just sit it out through that bite period where there's quite often always a chance, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a reasonable stock of carp in the lake. Not quite 100, about 90 carp, which in 2.5 acres is a good stock. You're never too far from them. So although we're seeing them showing, 150 yards up the other end of the lake, they're not all going to be there. They're not all going to be there. So we're just going to hang it out just for a little bit longer. Not seeing any bubbling to go at. Normally there'd be a bit of fizzing, but like yesterday, it's unusually quiet. But we're on a dip in the moon phase, aren't we? I mean, both of us, I don't let it sort of dictate my fishing, but certainly I do pay attention to it. And it's no coincidence that it's quiet today on the lowest sort of day of the moon phase. So it's not to say they're not catchable, but yeah, I don't think they're going to be feeding really hard. So.
All right, mate. Well, obviously yesterday I mentioned the fact you've had a little bit of a life change since we last saw you. Would you tell us about that?
Well, not so much. I still work for Nash. I've just my role's just changed very slightly, and it gives me a little bit more time to go fishing for the first time in my life. Yeah, it's quite nice. It's quite nice. So yeah, doing a little bit more angling. Obviously, this year's a bit of a strange situation for everybody, isn't it, with COVID?
Everyone's had a bit more angling this year, hasn't they?
Everybody's had a decent bit of angling, hopefully. Fingers crossed everybody's taken advantage. Everything else might have gone to but, at least we've had a little bit of fishing. Yeah, so because of COVID, a lot of my commitments have not been not come through, not come to fruition. Travelling's been difficult, isn't it, with the quarantine situation.
Like, so no shows?
No shows, we've cancelled all our shows for 2020. That would have been a big part of my commitment, shows and shop days. So really and truly, I've been quite lucky with it, So we've got a little bit of time to go fishing, and I'm trying to take advantage of it.
But what's interesting is you haven't changed your style, have you? You've just...
Not at all. I was thinking to myself, maybe I'm sort of missing a trick a little bit. I should perhaps do the style of fishing which I've not been able to do before, but I don't think it plays to my strengths, Joe. You know, I think my strengths are the fact that I do get itchy feet and I'm always looking for a quick bite and a better opportunity. So yeah, I've tried to stick with that, you know, and even if I've got 3 or 4 days a week to go fishing, it's often split into 2, 3 smaller sessions, and within them smaller sessions, Joe, as you know, I don't sit still either. You know, I may fish 3, 4 lakes in a day on the complex, and this obviously hasn't been my only port of call. I've got a couple of other venues to dabble on, so yeah.
I think also once you start doing that sort of fishing,
just jumped out there at the other end.
yeah, once you start doing that kind of fishing, you know, I do it myself, but not to the same degree that you do, but you know, once you start catching out of hard lakes and getting quick bites, it makes you think, well, why do I want to sit there for days on end, you know? And then because you know that there's probably a good opportunity somewhere on that pond, then it just inspires you to go and find that opportunity, doesn't it? And
I think other people also know that there's an opportunity. I think every carp angler knows, but the problem with the style of fishing that a lot of us anglers are drawn into is that you invest something in an area or a spot and then you're very reluctant to move, you know. Once that rod's out, it's very difficult to, you know, to replace it, or, you know, you're thinking carefully, tactically about that situation, and often you don't want to move, you know. Even you're stuck, you know.
Committing, aren't you?
You're committed, yeah. You know, like I've got the bivvy up at the moment, which is quite unusual. It means I'm rooted. Like any sort of move is going to take me half an hour to get packed away, and so fishing off the barra, it makes it a lot easier to move. Not doing the night under a shelter when possible makes it a lot easier to move. Like, there's little things like that. Don't make yourself too comfortable. Don't get yourself too rooted, and moving and shaking becomes much less of a hassle. You know, a power barrow. I know. I never thought I needed one until I had one, Joe. I'm still fit enough to push my barrow around the lake, but bloody hell, it makes it so much easier, and so I'm so much less likely to think, oh, I can't be bothered, because all I'm doing is walking my gear around there. I'm not actually putting too much physical effort into it. So yeah, little things like that enable you to move a little bit easier. People burden themselves, don't they? We all carry too much gear that we don't need, and yeah, well, I think that's quite an important thing for this style of angling, to stay, you know, it's a cliche, isn't it, stay mobile, but there's lots of things which help you to stay mobile, if you know what I mean. Go digging a level deeper into it. So, as you know, you're pretty light this morning, aren't you?
my barrow's always fully loaded, mate. Always stuff on there that I really don't need. But yeah, I just like in the mornings I like to just pack up and put the gear on the barrow, so I'm ready, even if I'm going to sit it out during bite time. Totally agree. Yeah, I've been a bit tardy this morning, sat with the bivvy up, but yeah, no, we'll put it away in a minute, and I can't see myself sitting here too much longer. The sun's coming up now. There's fish showing over the other end. Lovely October day. It started off a bit brighter. We've got a bit more cloud coming over now, but overcast, little bit of a breeze. Conditions are quite good. Yeah, I'm sure we will. You know, so yesterday we were pretty lucky on Kingsmead in the end. You know, I was a bit late turning up, but 3 or 4 hours fishing and we'd had 4 bites. I don't know if today's going to be as prolific. The target is, as always, just to catch one. Yeah. We don't get too greedy. It would be nice to catch one out of the Cray, wouldn't it? Different venue. Yeah, well, that's the target. I'm sure it's in hand, mate. Yeah. Well, the coffee's kicked in and I'm getting itchy feet, Joe. I don't know about you. There's not really much going on here. No fizzing, you know. I would have repoled if I'd seen any fizzing this morning, but there's nothing happening. The only sign of fish is the odd one jumping up the other end, so that's our clue, isn't it? Got to let them tell you what to do, ain't you? That's the old carp god saying, off you go, boys. So yeah, let's get wrapped up and on the move. Sweet.
Well, we're on swim number 3 of the morning. It's just about lunchtime and the activity has pretty much died off. There was a bit showing up this end, there was a little bit of bubbling, but yeah, as the morning's worn on, it's sort of come to a natural conclusion, the end of feeding time. And there's not a lot going on here really. I think what I'm going to do is get on my toes again. The cray pool hasn't been kind to me, not yet anyway. So the beauty of having a ticket, which allows you to fish all the lakes on the complex, is that you don't just have to sit on one lake, and if there's nothing happening, you can go and have a look elsewhere. So I think I'm going to go over to the boat pool and have a quick check of that. Maybe come back here later, but at the moment there's not a lot going on, so it's a bit of a waste of time. Let's see if we can go and get a quick bite elsewhere.
Well mate, another drizzly afternoon.
Yeah, not as productive as yesterday afternoon, was it? Kind of missed the boat this morning, I think, with those fish in the far corner. It was a little bit too late round there, and they'd stopped showing and feeding, hadn't they? And it's been an interesting afternoon. We've seen some carp, haven't we?
Some absolutely stunning carp.
Yeah. As we walked back round to the lodge, Vince was draining down the pond to refill it, and yeah, we got to see some of the 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds. What do you think, Joe?
Amazing, mate, and I believe you had a part in that as well, didn't you? The hand picking of them.
I'm involved a little bit in looking after them, like not on a day-to-day basis, but I've documented them over their lifetime, and I've a little bit of say in where they go. I try and try and keep the nicest ones on the complex. To fish for in future. Joe, they're fish that in 10 years' time, I think all of us would be really happy to catch, wouldn't they?
Definitely, and when we say cherry picked, I mean there was I don't know, however many carp in there.
65 in that pond at the moment. It's there's way too many because actually the pond next door malfunctioned. The wall disintegrated at some point in the summer, so we had to put them all in the one pond. So it's a bit overstocked, but we were really surprised to see how well they'd grown. I mean, the biggest ones were mid-double.
Yeah, easily. I'd say they were up to probably 17 pound, there or thereabouts. Yeah, I mean, what I was getting at there with the hand pick thing was those sort of, 60 odd carp, probably been picked out of thousands, haven't they?
Oh, they're the absolute cream ones, those ones. When we've been moving them across, we always try and cream off the better lookers for that pond, and quite often the stockings like the Church Lake and the boat pool are fish that have come from the cream of the crop pond. And
not just the better looking ones, but the better looking ones which are also the faster growing ones.
Yeah, I mean, they're perhaps not chosen so much on as a commercial fish farm on size. We do give them a second chance sometimes. Some of the ones which are not quite so big, they'll get recirculated through the system for an extra year. But yeah, they're certainly the ones that you saw today are pretty much the best ones, and some real nice ones that Vince managed to get hold of. Looking forward to the next couple of weeks. I think maybe the best 15 or 20 will get slipped into one of the lakes. Leave a bit more room for the others to grow.
Brilliant. And like you showed us with the pictures of the fish in the lodge, the ones that have been stocked in over the last few years are absolutely packing it on, aren't they?
Well, the ones that we caught yesterday, funnily enough, are actually a year older than those fish that we saw today, but they were a little bit stunted in their early life, so the future's really bright for those ones we saw today. Awesome. Hopefully they'll pack it on when they go in the lakes.
Yep, Horton complex fish of the future.
That's right, homegrown specials, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, right, so we've had one more roll of the dice for the day.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a look at Kingsmead, the church and the boat pool today, as well as a little go on the cray, and we've ended up back on the cray because I feel like I want to catch one out of here, Joe. We blanked last night. Maybe a wrong tactical decision, fished the wrong end of the lake, but there was so many showing up the other end this morning, and nothing showing up our end. So yeah, maybe did a wrong one, but yeah, I think tonight, unless I see something drastically different, I think I know from last night's activity where I need to be. And you as well. I want you to get the rods out tonight, hopefully.
Yeah, it'd be nice to, wouldn't it? Like I say, we saw fish in that corner this morning, last night. You want to go in that one, so I'll drop in the corner and drop a couple of rods in close and hopefully have a chance of getting one of these super cool carp.
However, before we do that, we've got an hour of light, and I'm just going to have a quick roll of the dice under this overhang again, which has been really good to me in the past. I've not actually seen any fish in there today. You know, we're fishing a little bit blind, but I'm banking on the fact that there is always something under there. It's an undercut margin. The fish get actually right underneath the bank there, so not only have they got the cover of the overhanging trees, but they've got the security of that bank there. So I'll tuck one right tight onto the overhang and brave the crayfish army. Yeah. See what happens.
That's one thing I did want to ask you, actually, being a man, the margin master, a man of the edge. Obviously at this time of year you don't tend to find them in the edge quite as much in the daytime, but you know, do you find that you catch them out of the edge at night time?
Well, Joe, like we did on the boat pool, I've seen 4 carp in the edge today. 3 of them in one spot that we checked and 1 down in the far corner. However, those fish, they've not eaten the bait. They did eat the bait that I put in last night. There is a chance, you know, perhaps if we'd fished in one of those margin swims with 1 rod, that we would have got a take in the early hours of the morning.
But that's what I mean. Do you think the fish visit those spots?
They still are at the moment. You can see, you know, we can see yesterday, like I showed you where I baited on the boat pool, the spot was clean. You know, it was visibly, it had been cleaned, and you can tell at this time of year, particularly because of the leaves falling on it, if there's leaves over the spot, then you know that it's not been touched. But actually, if those fresh leaves have been parted, you know that something's been there quite recently.
Exactly, it's a good sign for this time of year.
Good sign, yeah. So anyway, look, it's we've got an hour of daylight left, and the ADHD in me, not having had a rod out all afternoon, wants to get a rod. No, it's my fault. I wanted to have something to fish for, Joe. You know, this is kind of quite integral or quite important into this style of fishing. Is that actually, if I don't find anything I want to fish for, I don't fish. I don't fish blind a lot of the time.
Cool. All right, we'll get that in.
Yeah, let's do it anyway.
Look at that, the hand of God.
Right, so I'm going to drop the first one there, very tight to the bank, and I'm going to put a second one just a little bit further up the bank, a little bit further down the marginal shelf. So we've got both bases covered, if there's anything coming in and out of there. It's done me some quick bites in the past, this spot, but you know, that's when I've known that there've been fish there, but today we're fishing a bit blind, because there's so little activity. But some days it's like that. Got to use your spider sense. You know, this is repeatable as well. The fact that I know exactly how far I'm dropping it. If I do get one, I can almost hand place the bait on exactly the same spot. We didn't get time to get the second rod out, did we? Well, I said I had a suspicion that there might be a fish or 2 underneath there.
And you also said that if you're going to get a bite under there, it's going to be quick.
Can one of you grab the net, please? Just don't want to take a chance with the overhanging branches there. He's coming out now though. It's not a big one, lads. It's another stockfish, I think, but on a day when really there ain't been a lot going on, it just shows that a roll of the dice is what it takes. It is a really small one, but do you know what? That is very, very welcome. Oh, he's just fallen off. Would you believe it? Well, the only consolation is, lads, is that it was about £10. Ah, what a gutter. Could have done with him today, couldn't we? On a hard day. Just fell off, mate. Small fish shaking its head. Yeah, hook point's done over. Let's get that other rod out quick.
No coops on this lake?
No, Ev. Better one, lads. Not far off the same time as last night, wasn't it? God, that was mad. The sound of that bobbin cracking the rod. In she goes, boys. Yes, that'll do. Whew. Oh, right on dark. I'll tell you what, yeah, it's a good one, mate. Mid-20, nice dark one. Boom.
Well, you know, once again, proved the tactics, proved the confidence. You know, you just said, oh, I'm going to give it another 5-10 minutes, and literally it was on the death of that, wasn't it? And we literally said that as well, didn't we? How often you think, oh, I'll just give it a little bit longer because I'm pretty sure something was going to happen.
I just said to you, hadn't you, how often it makes me late. Not tonight, but yeah.
It's got a really good mouth on it as well.
Yeah, they're lovely carp, mate.
Now, does he not look like a male? Does he or does he not, should I say? After seeing 4 magpies, we got our male.
Yeah, do you reckon?
Yeah, of course. Look at the length of him and his skinny arm.
You'll recognise this one, look. Splitting his tail, quite distinctive.
Long wrist.
Lovely scales. A big male. What a result. Nice way to end the day. A day where we haven't really had the rods out for long, have we? About half an hour, 45 minutes in this corner. Location is everything. Right, let's get it back.
Now, the last time we left you, we had plans to go and fish for under the night on crayfish, didn't we, mate?
Yeah, but we realised we'd actually completed it, haven't we?
Challenge done.
Challenge done, yeah, so...
However, up the ante, like you tend to do.
Well, I could fish on a boat pool, couldn't I? I'm going to go and check it.
You could have gone home, to be fair. You know,
no,
it was more than one walk.
No, I've got 2 nights, didn't I? You know, so I may as well use them both. I'll go and see her tomorrow. I could have gone on a boat pool tonight. I'm going to go and check the spots that I baited earlier with the torch because the water's crystal clear and it's as easy to lamp them as it is to see them with polarised glasses. So I'm going to check a couple of spots quickly, but I think we're going to drop on a church tonight. Why not, Joe? Why not?
Roll the dice for a whacker.
Roll the dice, yeah, you know, I've had some bites for you. We've managed to, I mean, today was a funny old day, wasn't it? Didn't actually do very much fishing at all. There wasn't much to go on. Spent a lot of time looking, and in the end it was a kind of a hunch that led me to fish for an hour before dark. Got a couple of quick bites.
But I mean, compared to, you know, sitting in one swim all day, hoping that one might come along, you know, we've seen some lovely stockfish. We've had a nice bit of dinner in the dry. We've had a game of pool. It's been lovely times, hasn't it?
Yeah, we've seen some fish in the edge on the other lakes. You know, we've had a look around the other lakes. We know more than we did this morning.
And you caught a 30-pounder, as we now know is 30 pounder.
Yeah. It's ironically, it's a fish that I've caught previously. I didn't recognise it on the bank, but it was also caught a couple of weeks ago at 30 pounds. So yeah, 30-pound linear and a 36 yesterday. Not bad, is it? I'll catch another 30 tomorrow, wouldn't I, to make a hat trick?
Awesome. Well, seeing as I've got the permission to, you know, to be able to, the chance to be able to fish this prestigious venue tonight, even though it's getting on and I haven't had a lot of sleep.
Welcome to my world, Joe.
I'm going to get out there, buzz myself up, have a little wander around, try and, you know, listen for some activity and see if we can get on something. Let you do your thing. Hopefully we'll both bag a carp and it'll be a lovely morning.
Yeah.
Either way though, mate, it's been very, very delightful and...
We've made the best of it, Joe. You know, the weather ain't been very good. It's not been very nice weather sitting about outside for long, so, you know, it's better to stay active, you know, and today we fished targeted little bursts, put put my bait in front of a couple of carp and got a couple of bites. So, yeah.
Well, you know what the most successful people say in life is they say it's not about working hard, it's about working clever.
Yeah, it is.
It's not about fishing hard, it's about fishing clever.
It is a little bit, yeah. You know, you don't have to torture yourself. You really don't. You know, especially when you've got a facility like this, which is, we've had a nice, like you say, a nice bit of dinner and a game of pool and relaxed and dried out. The guys have got to charge their kit again.
And even being in here, it's hard not to be buzzed up about fishing, isn't it? You know, you're surrounded by fish of legends, carp angling legends.
Yeah, behind us we've got the wall of legends, haven't we? We've got your Laneys and your Chilies and Del Smiths and little Robbies. Yeah, all sorts. Frogger, Simon Lavin, a few of you will know him. The old Mexican, Keith James, CP. Yeah, a few old names. Pete, Tolchard, R.I.P, Weedbed.
But anyway, forget the old anglers.
Anyway, yeah, sorry.
It's like the carp that inspire me.
Absolutely, yeah. And some of them are still alive, you know. We've got a wood carve in there, that one's still swimming. We've talked about that before. Yeah, blacktail as well, that one's still about.
I'm only joking.
Yeah.
No disrespect to the anglers. There's some absolute legends up there, and yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so you're going to have a go where you fancy the Mead?
I'm just going to have a wonder, mate. I mean, the Horton is quite busy, isn't it? So
it is, yeah. I
think slotting on there might be a bit tight without, you know, potentially upsetting someone. It didn't seem like as many people on Kingsmead. If you hear a couple of sloshes in the dark and you can get a couple of hook baits on, then there's every chance.
Absolutely, Joe. You know, 99% of it is location, isn't it? As we've seen today, just getting on them.
And we know there's whackers in there as well.
Yeah, it's a few big ones, yeah.
Hopefully, mate, whacker each.
See you in the morning, Joe.
Be lucky. Well, it's been an absolutely crazy morning. We didn't get set up till late. It was drizzling till like midnight or something. Ollie was going to jump on the church lake, but ended up on the boat pool. We'll talk to him about that in a little bit. I had a walk around K1, as I said I was going to. Stood down this end here. One flopped out after 5 minutes. So I gave it another sort of 10 minutes, nothing else. Stood round the other bay behind Horton for about 10, 15 minutes, nothing there. I've got to be up this end. So anyway, yeah, I was going to go up the end there, but Ollie said this area's got more form, down the end's a bit all or nothing. And then not long after, he'd seen one show out here. They started showing sort of 3/4 of the way across. So I flicked one on a solid bag over there, one sort of where Ollie had seen one with a little scattering of bait around it. Literally first light, solid bag's gone. Got that in. Absolutely stunning carp actually, which is in the net in front of me. Got the rod back out, 20 minutes later, same one's gone again. Got a small one, which is probably about 10 pound, one of the lovely stockies. And shortly after that, we've had another bite. And this feels like quite a good fish as well, actually.
Bite, Joe.
It was, wasn't it? But I'd put them both on bags by that point, but they both dropped a little bit shorter than the first couple of casts. So I left them for a little bit, and then a fish showed out the back. Thought, I've got to put one a bit further out. So I'd only put this one out sort of 15 minutes ago.
Been a trip of quick bites, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been. You know, from what we've heard, there hasn't been many bites out of here, well, any bites out of here all week other than what Ollie and what I've had this morning. I think the little solid bags, obviously, are a good little tactic. You know, if you can get one of them to where they're showing, there's loads of attraction there without a huge amount of bait. And normally when they come down on a bag with that little 6mm pop-up, first suck, they're nailed.
I think the main thing is, Joe, location.
Exactly that, Ollie, yeah. Location, location, location. You know, there's not many people that are going to be prepared to not set up until midnight, you know, until they start hearing fish show somewhere. And that is probably one of the biggest edges you could give yourself, especially at this time of year. At this time of year, they're often not doing a lot in the day, are they? Or?
No, so I mean, I've made 2 bad tactical decisions the last 2 nights, but your one's been a good one last night, mate.
Do you know what, mate? I might have to get you to go and get a net, because I've actually got 2 in mine, and I think we might be pushing it with 3.
I've got a stocking thing, but he's a little bit bigger.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm absolutely over the moon with this one. As you can see, he's not, or she, should I say. Ollie recognises this fish as one that's been out, how long ago?
I actually caught this one, Joe, out of the bream swim up the other end, where nearly near where we fished 2 days ago, and it was a low 30 when I caught it. It's one of the Sutton fish.
I'd say 33.
33 pound, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it's 33 all day long.
Well, this was a few weeks ago, mate. He's probably put a little bit of timber on since then.
It's that time of year, isn't it? Oh, yeah, man, he's heavy. Heavy.
It's a lovely carp, mate.
So I couldn't be any happier to catch one of these lovely old ones. There's 400 carp in here now, 200 stocked ones. So to catch one of these lovely old characters is an absolute result. The universe has done as well. He's £33 all day long, mate.
Well, it could be 35 now,
I
Joe.
reckon he is 35. I might have to give him a quick weigh just out of curiosity.
It doesn't really matter, mate. Well, I always say a big carp is a big carp, whatever it weighs.
I'm not being blasé about the weight, by the way. I just left my sling in the car. I'd normally weigh them, but like Ollie said, you know, a massive carp is a massive carp, and that is not only a massive carp, but an absolutely incredible looking one as well. Stunning scales, serious length. It's got a nice bit of width to it. It's heavy. He's not very happy.
Well, Joe, that was a wicked way to finish, mate. I'm glad you bagged a couple. You deserved it after chasing me around for 2 days.
Absolute buzz, yeah. Well, I said last night, didn't I, by 1 o'clock in the morning, or 12, whatever it was, I was a little bit like, oh, should I just get my bed out and have a sleep, you know? We hadn't had a lot the night before. But then I said, no, I'm going to push myself and I'm going to catch one, and what a major result.
Yeah, mate, I'm glad you did, mate.
Sweet.
Let's get it back
Right,
and have a cup of
carp.
coffee, eh?
Get on with your day. Thank you very much for your visit. Lovely thing. Well, just when you thought the day couldn't get any better, we get a bacon sandwich delivery.
Welcome to Horton.
I don't know if I've got any words.
Oh well, it's been a wicked trip, isn't it, mate?
Amazing, mate. Yeah, really good fun, and like I say, hopefully people have enjoyed seeing your style and proving how effective it is.
Well, you proved that it's just about location, Joe. You know, and I think that's what this whole trip's been about. It's been about getting on them. If you can get on them, you can catch them. You know, whether you're casting at them like you did last night, or whether I'm poling at them. You know, but yeah, I think we've done quite well between us.
Exceptionally. Well, thanks again, mate. Been awesome to catch up.
See you in 5 years.
Yeah, well, I was going to say actually, maybe the next challenge of ADHD carping, part 2, we could take you somewhere where you haven't fished before.
I'd love that, Joe. I'd love it. Yeah.
Sweet.
Bring it
Challenge
on.
is set.
Cool. Enjoy your breakfast.
I will.
Right, calamities. This one's going to be, I'll keep it short. Garth, my good friend Garth Ethelston will probably not thank me for this, but it involves Garth and a young lady from the Five Bells pub behind Horton Church Lake. This young lady had been visiting Garth in a nice way because she had a bit of a shine on him, and he was a good looking lad, and he good, not so much nowadays, but he was then. Anyway, they hadn't created a relationship at this point, and they never did, because of the story I'm about to tell you. She kept whizzing over seeing Garth, and he was in a swim, I think, where was he? Near the bank nearest the pub anyway. She's popped over, we're on the other side, looking across, and he's got a bit of weed on his line. She's sitting there in she's got a lovely dress on. I mean, this was a very, very pretty young lady, and I think Garth was quite keen to further the relationship, but ruination was about to happen. He's got a bit of weed on his line anyway. The margins on there are really deep. So he's picked his rod up, and he's got this young lady, this beautiful young lady in a lovely summer dress, come to see him for the afternoon. He's asked her to lean out and take this weed off his line. Well, bear in mind, we're sitting on the other bank, and I've said that, but we're sitting opposite thinking, what the hell is going on or about to happen over there? Well, she's leant out too far, she's in. Now, she's gone in the lake, she's sunk, burst onto the surface. You imagine sitting opposite this. It actually looked like he pushed her in from where we were sitting because he was standing behind her. She's come out again, disappeared out of sight, never saw her again. Garth, what could have been? What could have been? And he didn't push her in, she fell. But you rotten little git.
I really like what Joe's done with this. So instead of talking about your favourite captures and everything that goes with them, it's about just the fish. And the fish is what drives us, isn't it? I wouldn't ever fish the most beautiful, scenic, aesthetically pleasing lake in the world if it contained ugly fish. It'd be pointless and meaningless. But I would certainly fish an ugly hole in the ground if it contained beautiful fish. So ultimately, it's always the fish that drives, not all of us, but certainly it's what drives me and has done for a long time. So I picked out 3 of my favourite fish which tick a lot of boxes aesthetically. The first one that I'm going to touch on is a fish that I caught in 2005, an old mirror carp which lived in a very, very low stock lake. He had 9 other friends that lived with him in this lake, and took me a couple of years to catch him. And he's a fish that had been uncaught for 7 years, which made him special in his own right. Any fish that goes a very long time without getting caught gets a few extra points on its top trump card, if you like, of merit. But the fish stays in my memory for a multitude of reasons, but obviously principally it's the image of that creature. Its whole makeup set it apart from virtually every other carp that I'd ever seen at that point. Although it had a similar sort of shape to maybe Malins in Raisbury, the colour of this was such a deep, dark, plum, crimson, red and purple that it made it unique. I'd never seen a carp like it. And when I saw that in my net out in the boat, I had to get it out the weed, and I looked down and I saw this thing on this misty September morning. First of all, I couldn't believe I caught it, because I said it had been uncaught for 7 years. But when you lay that down in the damp grass, in the mist, and you look at it, the hues on the flanks of this fish were just absolutely jaw-dropping. Cute little tail, big overslung head, perfect mouth. And yeah, I think that fish will always remain uniquely special, because to this day I haven't really seen another one like it. And although he's no longer with us, he grew to a good old age, caught less than 10 times in his entire life. Very, very special fish, unique coloration. Next one that comes to mind is a common carp, which is a more recent capture. It's one from a couple of months ago up on my Northamptonshire syndicate, and it's not my syndicate I'm in. This fish, it was very interesting actually, because when I was lucky enough to meet this fish, I was in a tea making COVID bubble of probably 5 or 6 other guys on the syndicate, and they were all very, very long-term carp anglers, all of us fishing back from the 80s collectively. I mean, so if there was, you got between 100 and 200 years of carp fishing experience in this small group of people, because we were all old men. And when this fish came along, it blew us all away. And when you get complete silence among a group of men who have seen everything, lived everything and done it all their lives. It takes something unique and special to captivate and mesmerise grown men with that amount of experience, and this fish did it to all of us that day. It was a common carp of almost just a shade under 49 pounds, of the most incredible coloration that I've ever seen on a big common, because it had this slate grey, dark grey, graphite grey even flanks that would drop away without any gradient into a creamy underbelly. So it didn't sort of, like most carp, there is a gradient of colour as it goes from darker to light. It's dark and then right at the bottom it's light. And that alone made it totally unique. I don't think I've ever seen a common before or since that looks quite like that fish. And again, a really rare one other capture in 3 years from a very precious syndicate lake. These things all add to make the event, the moment more special, but it's the fish itself ultimately. And you look at it and it's got this red tinge in its eye, perfect shaped head, beautiful, perfect underslung mouth, those lines of musculature that run underneath the chin. One of the things I remember vividly about it was how fat the wrist of its tail was. You look down the back of this fish, you're holding it and it's like, you know, it's like that across its head, it's almost 50 pounds, and you're holding it. All the way down its body, it was still thick, even right where its tail was. The wrist of its tail was like that. And I remember thinking, it's even fat on the wrist of its tail. It's a huge, great thing. How it got so big with hardly getting caught, I don't know. They're amazing creatures sometimes. But yeah, that carp, I don't think I've seen a common carp before or since that's quite like it. Absolutely massive as well, which obviously is a nice bonus, but they don't all have to be massive to be really striking. Which leads me on to my next one actually, which was very, very tricky. It's a mirror carp, and it was a real juggle between a fish of 37 pounds and a fish of 27 pounds. And I can't really separate them in my mind because they're both so special, but Joe's asked for free, so I'm going to have to. So the 37 just about edges it because of its unique scattering of scales that it had. It's a mirror carp of the most quintessentially perfect physiological characteristics in every department. I think you could never have the perfect carp because to tick every single aesthetic box is in my eye impossible. How can you have perfect beauty or something, because it's all in the eye of the person who's seeing it, you know, and people always disagree. But I think this mirror carp is the nearest example to the most perfect mirror carp I've ever seen. It's the best looking mirror carp I've ever caught. It's got the most perfect shaped head, the perfect shaped mouth, the perfect coloration throughout its body, a scattering of mismatched scales like randomly placed across its body, but ranging from the tiny little starburst glitter to larger half moons and purples and chestnuts and a lovely shaped tail with a bit of a shape to one of the lobes that sets it apart. And everything about this carp is perfect, from its shape to its colours to its scaling. And that's a perfect way to round off my top three. Two mirrors and a common, perfect examples of fish. I'm sure some people will probably disagree, and that's the beauty of carp fishing, you know, because we all have in our mind what makes the perfect looking carp. But for me, those fish are pretty hard to beat.
Well, as you can see, it's a different week because I had my hair cut. Got a friend to do it. She's not a barber, so I think she's done an alright job though. Not too bad. My brother said, look, I'm one of the Bash Street kids when I had it done. First of all, he said, oh, you look like one of the Backstreet Boys. Oh, no, Bash Street kids, that's right. Brilliant. Anyway, got down, it's a week later now. Came down last night, jumped on Meadow for the night, and couldn't find any fish, to be honest with you. Walked around for a good few hours, so dropped in a swim. Thought, well, I might as well set up somewhere where I've got a good view. And whilst I was there, found a nice spot out in the lake for that area and put a bit of bait on that for future. You know, I think the wind's going to swing around in the next few days and that will blow up that way. So at least I've got a spot primed in that area if they start showing there when I'm there. However, for now, I spent all day. I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, watched the meadow until 9 o'clock in the morning. Did not see one show other than a tench. I did see a couple of otters on there yesterday and last night, and all the bird life had reacted to that as a result. You know, they were off the lake. In the morning there was only grebes on the water, and I think the carp were probably running a bit scared as well, so maybe that's why they weren't showing. Maybe they just weren't within my view, but I wasn't feeling happy over there, so spent hours and hours walking in the blistering heat, to the point that I thought, oh, I might even have to go home, you know. I just couldn't find anything that was worth fishing for, really. Didn't see one carp at all. Walked and looked and looked and looked. Anyway, considered going up the road to the lake I was at before, but they've just started spawning in there, so I'll leave them to that. So I came over to Longreach for a look over here, just stood on the end of the wind, thought, oh, this swim's all right actually, isn't it? A nice bit of shade, got the wind blowing in here, and then the jet boat flew past, about 20, 30 yards out. I thought, that's not too great, is it? So I thought, well, it's probably just going to be about the mornings, really. Anyway, jet boat's gone past again, and I thought to myself, I wonder what they do. You know, like I've been thinking lately, is there little areas where the boat doesn't go, where they tuck themselves away? What do they do when they've got this thing flying about? Anyway, as soon as I thought that, fish showed 30 yards out. Oh, the only thing I can think is all that oxygen and, you know, food spraying about in the water turns them on a little bit. So, old Joey's jumped in here. I've just flicked a couple of zigs out for now, because I didn't want to disturb them. I know they're a bit spooky in this lake, and I know also they're quite tricky, so sometimes a little zig can trick them. And obviously, you know, I haven't got a lead around. I had a couple of casts, landed in some eel grass, come back a bit shorter, and managed to get a good enough drop. So that's the beauty of them little zigs. Also, our fishing beefed up as well, so it's like a 12-pound IQ fluorocarbon hook link, size 8 wide gape hook. So yeah, it's a strong setup that takes a lot of stick. So fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. If I don't get anything in the next few hours, then I'll find a couple of little spots ready for the evening. Hopefully we might see another one show. Oi oi, Savaloy. Little bit of carnage going on down here. Guess what? We've got our first Longreach carp. And it didn't even take an hour. Yeehaw! Buzzing with that one. It's not a big one, it's a stocky, like fully scaled. But my God, did it pollard. Let's have a look at him. Oh. Well, as I said, it's no monster, but what an absolutely stunning carp that is. Awesome. Can't believe how hard it fought. There's some, oh, go on your dorsal, showing yourself off. There's some other really cracking carp in here. There's a big fully scaled that hasn't been out for over 5 years. There's a big mid-40 common. The friendly common is not that friendly because he hasn't been out for quite a long time either. So, looking forward to having a little dabble on here and meeting a few more of this one's friends. Wicked. Well, nothing to report on Longreach last night. I didn't want to make too much disturbance. I wanted to kind of be able to see what they get up to in the mornings, because they were here obviously. See where they're feeding on natural areas, and then obviously try and find some spots near them later on. I thought if I start, you know, casting around, finding spots further out, having lines going through the swim, then there's a good chance they might not react naturally this morning and not hang about. So I was up at 3:30, set the alarm for 4, but woke up at 3:30. Didn't even go to bed till nearly midnight. And I only had 4 hours sleep the night before, so I've done well to get up at 3:30, that's for sure. Saw 3 carp. Heard one round the corner as well, a bit further up. And a few bream and whatever bubbling up. Nothing to report yet. The wind's going to get up shortly. It's going to be very similar conditions to yesterday. So I think rather than get on my toes and go on a mission, I'm better off just sitting here for the day. And I'm going to stick 2 zigs out, I reckon. Obviously it's Sunday, so day of rest and all that. Got to have a bit of a chill, haven't I? I've got to pop to church first though. Do my confessions, that might take a while. And I'll be back to try and have another one of these lovely carp out. I'm not really going to church. Oi oi. Well, nothing else to report yet. It's been a nice day. I've got the perfect bit of prime real estate, to be honest with you. I've had a nice breeze blowing in here, which is super cool. Got a nice bit of shade for the afternoon. Yet if I walk to the back of my swim, I can sunbathe in blistering heat, so ideal really. Seem to have got a new friend, little female duck. They often end up with me at this time of year. I'm always shooing off the males. Obviously you would have noticed, but in the breeding time, the males just relentlessly chase the females around all day long. There might only be one female on the lake and they'll have like 10 males trying to get at her, shall we say. Quite a mad one actually. I don't know how common knowledge this is, but male ducks' penises, old boys, shall we say, fall off after the mating period. And to be honest with you, you can see why. If that's how they treat their women, then they should only get a small window, shouldn't they? So yeah, they grow a new one each year, and it's like a little corkscrew. And apparently the females have got different holes that they can let them get into or not let them get into, so they can choose which one's actually going to be the dad, which one gets the right hole, if you like. Madness. There you go, there's a bit of duck knowledge for you. So fingers crossed these fish are going to come back in the morning. I found some nice little spots today close in, staying with the closer in areas, just mostly because of the weed out here and the line lay. I know these fish are very aware when they're being fished for, so the more I can do to keep myself nice and stealthy, the better. Fishing over just a small amount of bait, 3 spoms in each one. Got some of the old May9 particles, a few tigers as well, a little bit of hemp, a few maggots, a little bit of sweet corn, a little bit of everything really to try and just trigger some sort of feeding response. So fingers crossed they'll be back in the morning. I'll be up again at 3:30, 4 o'clock to keep an eye out. Come on the carp. Well, got up again early this morning. About 4 o'clock, sitting there watching the water. Didn't actually see anything show. There was a little bit of bubbling going on. Walked down the bank a little bit to watch that area of water. Didn't see anything going on there at all. So came back to my swim. I think I had another cup of tea, chilled out for a bit and thought, do you know what, all these early mornings are catching up on me. I'm just going to get my head down for a couple of hours. So 7 o'clock, jumped in the bag, fell asleep, woke up, right hand rod was away. Just run down the slope, had my socks and my trousers on, no hesitation, straight in the water, bang. Feel it pulling. Oh, sorry, speedboat's going past. Yeah, had a good bit of a scrap with it, and last night a guy said to me, I'll be careful down that right hand margin. He said there's a barrel down there with mussels sticking up off of it. So I kept the rod up high. There's also a bar to the right as well, so I've kind of had to play it over this bar, keeping the rod up. It's kited around to the left. Didn't quite catch a glimpse of it. I think I see a bit of its tail, but that was about it. It's moved across to the left, give it a little bit more upward strain, and the hook's just popped out. I wouldn't normally play with a rod so high, I normally tend to keep it quite low, but obviously with the obstacles in the water, I had to keep it high, and the hook point was bent over a little bit, so I imagine it just hit the bone and wasn't in as far as it could be. So yeah, I was pretty disappointed, as you can imagine. Today has been another warm one, not so much of a breeze blowing in here, but I sat it out anyway because I felt like there was a chance. Gave it till about mid-afternoon. I needed to pop up to the tackle shop to get a couple of bits, so I shot up there, and whilst I had the rods in, I had a little wander around There was a little area that a guy put me onto. He said, you know, that quite often you can see them in there in the daytime, so I went round there. There was a lot of fluff on the water, so I couldn't really see into a lot of the areas around there. There was one bit that I had to kind of climb down into, and lo and behold, bang, there was, well, first of all I saw a 20-pound common come through, lovely fish, nice and dark, then a little stocky, and then the reeds rustled to the right, and see this fish come out of the reeds, and yeah, it was one of the 40s known as Mutleys. It's a pretty cool carp. The spot they were in is actually kind of fishable. It'd be straight in the lake, but I'm well up for that, especially in this heat. So I primed it up a little bit. Gonna pop back there tomorrow morning. Well, we'll see what happens tonight, but obviously gonna give it through the morning bite period, so I'll probably give it till about 9 o'clock. I think the wind's going to die off tonight, and tomorrow there's not much wind at all, so I'm going to pack up in the morning, go around there, have a little go stalking, and then potentially move back onto the meadow, because there's a new wind starting tomorrow night northerly, which will be blowing into that area that I baited up the other day, and I'm sure with a new fresh wind on there, the fish should be on that as well. But in the meantime, let's worry about the moment and try and get one out of here. Oh, pasta o'clock. Fresh pasta, fresh pesto, and a bit of feta. Easy peasy and lovely jubbly. I'm starving, let's crack on. Yo, yo, yo. Well, another day and indeed another lake, not just another swim. I'm back on the meadow now. It was very quiet on Longreach last night and this morning. Didn't see anything. Packed up by about 5 o'clock, but left the rods out just because there's always a chance, you never know. Obviously the day before when I had that bite, I hadn't actually seen anything either, so yeah, it was worth giving it till 9 o'clock. Then I've come around to the meadow, back in that swim where I was a few days ago, which I baited up, and the wind's now changed, got a sort of northwesterly. It's not very strong today, it was a little bit stronger a couple of hours ago, but I think tonight it's going to go flat calm, and then tomorrow there's a big change in weather. It's going to be a lot cooler. It's going to be like 15 degrees, big drop in pressure, nice cool northerly wind blowing into this bank. So although I haven't seen any fish over here, it's kind of a bit of a chess move, if you like. I'm not fishing in the moment, I'm fishing in the morrow. So it's a bit of a fingers crossed one. They might turn up on the end of the wind. It's a big pit, fresh new wind. It's been quite stale for the last week or so, blowing east, northeast. So yeah, I've got that primed spot out there, got another primed spot round to the left. It's in a bit of bait. I also baited it last week when I left, so hopefully they've been visiting the corner, having a bit of food, and they're going to come back and going to have a few. I put half a bucket out, which, you know, it's not a huge amount really, and half a bucket a few days ago. There's a lot of particles and bits and bobs in there, so as well as the old link boilies, lots of stuff to kind of keep them rummaging around for a while and keep them coming back to the spot as well. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. Hopefully tonight we're going to see some fish in the area, and hopefully in the morning when that wind picks up, it's going to be game on. Well, for me, this is one of the things I love about carp fishing. Sitting here with a front row seat of a lovely sunset. It's amazing, like clouds up there. Should be some epic colours coming shortly. Sun's just dropping behind some clouds. Got some nice chill beats playing. One of the mixes that I recorded whilst I was playing out in Indonesia last year. Shameless plug, but if you want to check them out, they're on SoundCloud, Joe Morgan, Beats Therapy. Really nice for just chilling by the lake, to be honest with you, like background music, proper chilled journey sounds. Anyway, enough of the plug-in. It's a gorgeous evening, and I'm very happy to be out. Makes you appreciate it even more after the old lockdown business. Let's just hope these can't play ball and appear here tonight. Unfortunately, the wind's going to drop to pretty much nothing, which means mosquito hell. They're renowned for being murder down here. Big, big mosquitoes. Never got a mesh. I need to sort out a bivvy with a mesh. I think I've got a candle somewhere, citronella one. Anyway, I'm going to chill out, listen to my music, and lap up this sunset. Nice. Well, 24 hours I've been sitting here for, kicking myself, to be honest with you. So many times I've had to remind myself, don't try and guess what they're going to do. You know, just fish in the moment and find fish and fish for them. Don't worry about tomorrow. And obviously I didn't do that at all here. I was waiting for this good weather to come. The weather took a little bit longer to arrive, and the fish just haven't been in this area. So I've been sitting here kind of camping, if you like, bait and wait, which is to me the most boring form of carp fishing, but sometimes it is necessary. And I knew that if I was to move out of here or go and have a little mooch about, someone would jump in just because it looks so good. Anyway, 24 hours in, and I've finally seen some fish. I've seen 3 in the last sort of 40 minutes. Just seem like they're coming in along that back bank. There's a bar that runs all the way along that bank there, a few hundred yards. They probably use that, I imagine, either that or the margin line, but anyway, they're coming round. I've got 2 rods out to the left here. It's a nice sort of raised area, about 9 foot, 12 foot all around it. And I put about 3 kilos of boilies on that yesterday, and also baited it up a few days before, and last week. So, feeling pretty confident. Hopefully we can just get them to eat some bait, because there's so much natural food in here. You can see it all in the edge all the time. So yeah, it's just a case of tempting them into something different, and we'll see. A few key of bait down there should do the trick. I'll keep you posted. Well. I won't lie to you, this session has been a grueler. I've walked miles and miles. I've burnt a crazy amount of optical calories, as Adam Penning would say, and not had a lot of reward for it either. But there you go, that's fishing, and I do have me lucky times as well. So last left you, I was waiting for them fish to turn up on the end of that wind. They didn't really come into that corner, and the next morning I saw 3 otters go across that corner, which is the second time I've seen otters in that zone. So probably one of the reasons why the fish aren't pushing in close into that bay like they did last year when I had a couple out of there. I had 3 in one night actually, including a 30 and a lovely zip linear. So I went over to Longreach. Well, actually, yesterday I just walked and walked. Burnt myself out, was really tired, got to sort of sunset, and there was a few fish showing up that left-hand margin on the meadow. So I whacked 3 singles out there, cooked myself a curry, ate that and replenished my energy levels, and sat there and thought, no, what are you doing? You know, this isn't good enough. By that point it had gone flat calm and I hadn't seen any more shows. So I thought, well, you know, if they're not showing in the day on Longreach, maybe they're showing at night. So I packed up my gear, drove all the way round. I say all the way round, it's not that far. Drove round to Longreach, put my gear on the barrowed around to the far side, wandered around. You know, by this point, you're talking 10, 11 o'clock at night, and nothing was showing. So I set up in a little swim, dropped them in the edge, had a weird occurrence in the morning. Don't know if it was a liner or got done or what, but didn't see anything. Gave it till about 11 a.m. and then got on my toes again. Once again, walking around, haven't found any carp. They're so hard to find at times, these fish. However, we've got a new southwesterly coming tonight and tomorrow morning. Tonight we've got a good westerly, and that blows into this bank here. I'm on the spit, the Longreach spit, so I've got the meadow in front of me and the fjords behind, and it's called the Longreach spit because it's, you know, it's next to Longreach, but I'm actually on the meadow. And we've got an epic bit of weather here. The pressure has dropped down to 995. We've got a full moon tonight. I mean, textbook carping conditions. So although I haven't seen anything, I've come around to a zone which is, you know, a good southwesterly zone. The first time I actually looked at this place on Google Earth, I saw this area out here in front, just off the gap, and I thought, wow, that's got to be a great spot. And I came and done like 4 3 or 4 nights around here, but fish just weren't here. But I've always had it in the back of my head that when the conditions are right, I'll be fishing there. And indeed, 2 weeks ago, a guy called Mark had the brown out of this swim. So I know that fish likes this area, but so do all the others. They come through here to come in and out of the fjords. Yeah, really good angler. Mark, bumped into him down here a few times. Nice guy, keeps himself to himself. Don't actually know his surname, but I'm sure he probably wouldn't want me to mention it anyway. He's old school. He's caught a lot of big carp as well. So I'm going to tuck myself out of this wind because I'm sure it's already pretty noisy on the microphone, and make myself some dinner, have a cup of tea, chill out. I've had to sit up without a view of the lake just because the wind's going to be coming 20 mile an hour, which is not a huge amount. It doesn't sound like a huge amount, but on a big pit it is. I think there's going to be waves lapping across this little spit in the morning. Come on, the carp. Well, sadly, I don't think these fish have read the textbooks because I haven't seen any yet. I mean, I'm not able to sit out there all the time because that wind is so strong and so cold. But I've been having a bit of a look. It might even be a bit too choppy for them out here, especially on top of that bar, sort of 8 foot of water. Maybe I should have fished in the deeper water, but it might just be that they're not here, not seeing anything show. So as I've not got a carp to show you, I thought I'd share a little story with you. Something that always makes me chuckle when I think about it. So many years ago, when I worked at Corda, we were in Italy for some sort of like fishing show type thing, and in the evening ended up finding myself in a strip club with Frank Warwick. I think Ali Hamidi was there as well. Not really my cup of tea, but obviously I was just going along with the game. Not that I'm not into women. I just find all that strip club thing a bit seedy. Anyway, sitting there with Frank having a chat. The girls weren't all that anyway, to be honest with you. Not much eye candy going on there. And Frank turns around and he says to me, "Joe, you know, I've had 87 fights in my life and I've never lost one. And when I say I've had 87 fights, some of them with more than one person." Epic. I love you, Frank. I wonder how many fights you're up to these days, mate? Let us know.
I mean, some of the most bizarre things that I've got away with, which I would never do now, and I'll never ever let anyone sort of around me do, was we used to swim out the baits going back a long time. You know, when I was in my teenage years, the rods them days weren't that powerful. You know, we used to make spods and spoms, but there was nothing like swimming a bait out. And we started doing it over Hainault Forest, just wading out into the middle of the lake and putting baits out, you know, and putting down markers and baiting spots. And then we started to do it on gravel pits. And I remember one session we fished up on the Yateley Match Lake, me and a lad called Perry Moncur, and we were swimming our baits out at night. We'd wait till dark, you know, and we'd swim right out to the islands, get out on the little gravel ledges and sprinkle all down the sides with the tiger nuts. That's what we used to do. And what we used to do, which was, you know, made it safer for us, but still not safe, I'd say, is get a particle bucket, and half of the particle bucket would be tiger nuts and the other half would be just lumps of polystyrene. So you get big lumps of polystyrene, we'd put them in the buckets and they was our float. And then when you get out there and you get on a bit of gravel, when you get on the island or you get to where you want to go, then you can stand up and then you can bait your area. This is how we used to do it. But I mean, this went on for years and years when we were really young, and for swimming out, if someone had a fish on, we used to swim out with fish on. You know, things that you weren't allowed to do and you shouldn't really be doing, but we did them. Amazing. I mean, we used to go fishing, 3 or 4 of us, and if we had to swim the baits out, whoever had the least amount of money or didn't have any fags or didn't have enough food, they'd be the one swimming the bait out. That was normally there was a bit of a pecking order with that. These sort of stuff used to go on. stuff that you wouldn't see nowadays and I wouldn't expect to see. But also we used to go around and swim around the lakes in the close season. You know, if I had a new lake that I wanted to fish, one of the things that first thing we'd do, as soon as it got to May and it was warm, we'd just go and swim it, you know. But shouldn't have done it, but did it.
They say a picture paints 1,000 words, and a picture does paint 1,000 words. You know, when so much modern life is so fast-paced, isn't it, and we've all got so much going on, not just me, like everybody, you, the people looking at this, like your lives are as busy as mine. Life has just got so busy, and like it is imperative, the older you get, to smell the roses along the way. And for me, that isn't just fishing and big carp and everything that goes with it, it's where I am and the places I choose to immerse myself in. And because of that, carp fishing has taken me on fucking countless thousands and thousands of miles of driving to the farthest reaches of Europe, and I've looked everywhere and fished everywhere because I want to experience everything. And the people of my generation, like I said earlier, you know, we're big on experience. We want to experience everything in life. Like life is best enjoyed at its limit, do you know what I mean? And that includes the places you choose to fish. You know, I can see the beauty. I talked about my canal fishing. I sat down a little bit of canal that I've known for 40 years of my life and still get the most rich experience in fishing there. And on the flip side, I can drive 1,000 miles to the Alps and find myself surrounded by scenery and like fresh air, and like it's hard to put it into words because it's too special to put into words. You know, nothing can bring you closer to God, if there is such a thing, than having a vista that literally brings a tear to your eye. And I've been very fortunate and I've visited lots of places like that. I say it's not fortunate, I didn't get there by accident. I took myself to places like that to experience them. And that isn't just in angling, that's in life. You know, you go backpacking, it's your rite of passage as a young man to go and see the world and find out what you like and what makes you tick, sort of thing. And I've done that with carp fishing for the last 35 years and some. So the pictures I've chosen two. I've got two in my mind as I talk about this. One, a picture off my boat, because the time I spent on my boat was very special to me, a very important period in my life, and I cherish it, you know. I haven't even used my boat this year. It's sat on the drive, all ready to go on the river, but I just haven't been. Because when I do it a couple of years ago, I did it to such an extent and I lived it. You know, I didn't just live it, I breathed it. It was coming out of my pores, you could smell the river. I was absolutely, totally engrossed in it, 100%. And I loved every second of it. Absolutely loved every second of it. So that'd be one of my pictures. The other one, if I choose to use it, will be one of my mountain scenes from one of the many places I've fished on the continent. I've got countless beautiful images to remind myself when I'm too old and my brain's gone, which is probably just around the corner. Yeah, some of my mountain scenery, some of the lakes that I pioneered, I say pioneered, like, you know, I researched them for many years. No English were going there, no Europeans were going there. They were so far off the beaten track and so far up mountain valleys and that. So I'll probably use one of those. I think even in the caption that I used a picture, and I've used it before on Instagram, the caption is a picture paints 1,000 words. So I think I'll probably use that one.
Master stroke and absolute. I got so many ways of doing stroke. And I managed to heave this Leviathan from the depth, you know, and this thing appeared from underneath me.
If we talk about trying to bodge it up,
Oi, oi.